February 23rd, 2019. The last edit I made to the note on my phone labeled Mario Kart 9 Ideas. An idea I eventually wanted to publish and show people on YouTube. Over 2 years later, and I'm finally getting around to it. I've asked many people what they would want to add to a theoretical Mario Kart 9, and people seem to think we've covered everything we can drive on. The sky, underwater, the walls, and for the most part, they're right. I can only think of 2 or 3 gimmicks to add, and mine aren't perfect either. Today I wanted to talk about what a potential Mario Kart 9 could look like, with quite rash and atypical ideas. My favorite being having 2D 8-bit sections, like in Odyssey or back in Mario Maker 1, where characters could be converted to an 8-bit sprite and build up speed the longer they stay in it. Like the coin parts in the F-Zero tracks. It wouldn't be a place for passing, being 2D and all, and would maybe pose as an alternate route. Although it may be a bit crammed, I feel transforming into 8-bit 2D would be perfect in the series. My other idea kinda steals the thunder of an iconic item, the shock. I'm not quite sold on it yet, but it's basically changing the size like in Minish Cap. So some parts of the track have to be driven while you're the size of a pea for a brief change in perspective, while majority is on regular carts. I was thinking of like driving inside of a car engine, but this idea just falls flat pretty quickly. Anyways, Mario Kart is unpredictable with its gimmicks, to say the least. And yes, for the sake of this idea, I'm going to call it Mario Kart, even though Nintendo Kart seems somewhat likely in the near future. We have drove on regular tracks, swapped drivers mid-race, doing tricks over jumps with our sick gyro controls, driven through the air, underwater, up walls, once on a vertical phone screen through real cities, and now in your own home with carpets and pups as hazards. Woo! Some people don't even count the last 2 entries. Reasonably so. I mean, it doesn't even feel quite the same. So let's go back a little to the idea of Double Dash. But let's mix it with Skylander Swap Force. You know, the game where you could swap the pants to make the coolest monstrosity ever. I'm pretty sure vehicle customization is here to stay in Mario Kart, so I propose having mixable front and rears. Imagine the Flame Runner in Mario Kart Wii. It's got great speed, great mini turbo, bad acceleration. Actually, scratch that. Only imagine the front half of it. So, for the rear, how about another vehicle? What about the Magic Cruiser? It's got okay speed, good acceleration, and great off-road. Now we have a very ugly bike with Bowser's face and a broomstick coming out of its neck. Absolutely gorgeous, don't you think? I think it would be so cool if you could swap between these 2 front and rears seamlessly, like drivers in Double Dash. When you tilt forward, you'll have the great speed of the Flame Runner as your broomstick points up, and when you tilt backwards, you could get to your top speed faster with the Magic Cruiser's good acceleration and maybe even do some shortcuts with your giant off-road stat. If this were to be the case to have a mix and matchable front and rear, we'd probably have to have full control while only a half is on the ground. So let's have spherical wheels. It'd be like you were driving on 2 BB-8s. So maybe while both are on the ground, you'll have a combined average stat, along with the ability to drift. There may also be a matching bonus of some sort, so you'll be rewarded for choosing 2 of the same vehicle parts. Maybe like a little boost or something. So now we have a bike with omnidirectional wheels that can switch between having one on the ground at a time. And I think I'm ready to share probably my strangest idea I have. For starters, we all love gimmicky controllers, right? Anyways, What if we got a new gimmicky controller and we had the option to hold two Joy-Cons applicate to each other, Z-axis horizontally to each other, but each stick on the Joy-Con would be controlling one half of the vehicle. It would be pretty confusing to have one thumb controlling each half of your vehicle, and we all know it'll just be something to say, huh, that's neat, and play classic control style as if it didn't exist. So maybe this idea is better suited to be executed in Game Builder Garage. For now, let's swap that awkward idea away and talk about the actual fun part, the greatest part of Mario Kart, the items. There seems to be two groups of items for source material. Those that are either a direct Mario reference like the Bomb, Fire Flower, and Star, and then those that are completely unrelated that were Marioized, such as the Banana Peel, Lightning Bolt, and Super Horn. Unless it's something like a BAM Shock Dodge umbrella, I'd rather draw from source material in actual Mario games. So that leads me to the Double Cherry. In 3D World, you create a clone of yourself and it does exactly what you could do. Adapting that into Mario Kart seems pretty good. You could clone yourself for about 7 seconds to either take a hit, maybe gain the edge over an opponent who has a slight lead over you. Maybe it'll let you have 2 items if that feature doesn't return. At the end of your 7 seconds, the two could form into each other and give you a small boost. Maybe it could be like a good version of the Thundercloud in Mario Kart Wii, where a bump passes it to another player to reference being able to ground pound to take clones in actual 3D World. This is still a rough idea, but this whole thing is a rough idea. But I've still got more. Like, what about this throwback, which is probably my favorite? I call it the Naked Koopa. Probably don't search it up. In Mario World, when you kick a Koopa, you get this little homeless turtle. So he hit an all-time low and has become an item to be used in a racing party. But fear not, little homeless turtle. We will find you a home by placing you on the track waiting for a shell to pass by. When that shell passes by, hop in and change the color if needed. That's right. By placing this Koopa, you can change the effect of shells that pass by. So maybe it'll curve green shells or make red shells bounce. Or it changes a green shell to a red shell. Naked Koopa has a big dream to change the race. And he sure will when you think you're safe and suddenly you start hearing the heart-pounding sound of a newly made red shell approaching your bumper. Those 2 items were probably my favorite to talk about, but there's some others that everybody wants to see, like the Ice Flower, where it functions just like the Fire Flower, but it only minorly slows you down and might even freeze you completely solid for a little while. Or even something like an oil maker, where you can put an oil spill on the track and it might stay there after even being hit. Remember that 2D 8-bit section I was talking about earlier? What if it was an item instead, like the pixel pipe from Mario Odyssey? You could use this item to do a shortcut of some sort and take the most inside line and gain speed while you're on the wall. I still like the idea of it being implemented into a track, but if it's an item, it would definitely clear the loophole of placing items in 2D and how to prevent that. Alright, enough about items. Let's get to some tracks. I want to see some more vertical tracks. Maybe a pagoda, a hotel, the scaffolding of a canyon. All great choices. The pagoda could be based on something like Bowser Kingdom in Odyssey with the Pecky Boys as hazards, and a bunch of other Bowser-inspired ideas. I just like the flowy feel of the building roofs, and I think adding a lot of gold aspects would be memorable. Sort of like a less winding Dragon Driftway in a more vertical building style. I like the idea of having tracks based off of real-world locations, And one that I really wanted to try to make work was a hotel. So my hotel wants to feature moving elevators. Elevators. Waiting and coming to stops is not something a good racing game should have. So that's where I came up with Hotel Lakitu. The elevators will be clouds that you can drive through, on, or under to get to alternate paths. That way you could move smoothly without stopping to wait for the doors of an elevator. Everywhere in Hotel Lakitu would be classy, gold, and polished. Lakitu may be the king of clouds, but his hotel is surely 5 stars. Tracks are pretty easy to name after characters, so what about something like Captain's Canyon? So imagine Captain Toad is excavating a giant fossil in a canyon. You can drive up and around his workspace with all of his Toad team in different spots. It'll be similar to something of a Bone Dry Dunes mixed with Shy Guy Falls so that you could see them all working. I wanted it to have the discovery aspect that the character's based on. Another character I really wanted to name a track after. Anyone remember Talkatoo? The tip bird for Mario Odyssey? I bet this dandy gent could easily have a scenic, almost touristy feel to a track. Like Sunnyshine Airport or Makawoohoo. The best ideas seem to be Talkatoo Bridge or Jungle, because you could easily enjoy a scenic path while being what feels like led by Talkatoo himself. There's still a bunch of locations I haven't even touched on that I've thought of, like Star Casino, Valiant Vessels, or even Hardware Hike. I'm sure everyone has their own ideas for tracks, but the point is, I've said a couple of my ideas, and should probably move on to what we would call this game. I doubt we're going to get a creative name with this new entry, because so far it's always been named after the console it's on, or it gets a generic number like 7 and 8. Of course, there are a couple exceptions like Super Circuit, Double Dash Tour, and Home Circuit. But think about it. After all, we didn't get a Mario Kart Off the Walls or Mario Kart Gravity. So let's just keep it boring. Mario Kart 9, woohoo! Maybe we'll have some cool pixely dissolve effects on the 9 to show the whole 2D morphing to walls. But I think it's finally time. I've talked this whole time about what a potential Mario Kart 9 could look like, but somewhat ignored the brewing future that we probably have already familiarized with at the end of Mario Kart 8. With Animal Crossing, Zelda, F-Zero, Excitebike, and Splatoon content giving us a little taste of what might be a potential Nintendo Kart. How am I supposed to predict that? That's huge! I'll just touch on a few really quick. For example, Legend of Zelda could bring the hookshot as an item where you'll shoot it in front of you and either pull them back or you can move towards your opponent in front of you. Maybe you'll be driving in Deku Forest because we already have Hyrule Circuit. And maybe Link, Zelda, Ganon are playable. There's not a whole lot to draw from in Zelda characters. But there's a couple more, like Splatoon, you could get Splat Bombs on any of the maps, really. I'd want to see maybe Camp Triggerfish. If F-Zero got an item, it would likely be a Tombstone, because it'll kill your character in hopes of getting a new F-Zero game. Animal Crossing could give you something random out of a pocket. It could be a bug, a shark, a net, I don't know. Figure out what you can do with it. The more I talk about Nintendo Kart, the more I realize, wow, this is actually possible. But there's still a lot to draw from in good old Mario Kart, am I right? Anyways, I think I've probably been talking for long enough, so Nintendo Kart will have to be more food for thought. And with another crossover Nintendo game, maybe we can complain about more Fire Emblem characters again. But for now, I hope you enjoyed my possible idea of Mario Kart 9, and eventually we'll find out in the future. But here we are now, just stuck thinking about what it could be. But until then, I'm still holding out hope for all of my ideas. My Frankenstein bike, the spherical wheels, Naked Koopa, the hotel, the pagoda, all of it. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.